Hola guys and girls, and welcome to the second part, or second episode rather, of the what you call it, Pincer Mania. I forgot the name for a second, god damn it. But yeah, of course I have three amazing guests with me. I have three amazing topics with us too, but let us go over the guests first, of course. First off, we got from the GBC, my league, Nacho, aka Hairshot. Say hello.
Oh guys, what's going on?
There he is. Then, coach of the Niederqueen Park Rangers in the PPL Division 1 and analyst of the GBA, we got here Ryquin.
What's up, Interweb? Ryquin here.
And as last but definitely not least, we have analyst of the GBA D-League, coach of the Arizona Deoxys, which is inactive at the moment, but he was in the league too. He performed well. Gus, the Beaverman.
Yeah, it's the best in the West. Gonna put them all to the test, and then make sure to PayPal you the money afterward.
Don't say El Dio, goddammit.
Oh, sorry. It's rigged.
But okay, we can start with the first topic right away, which is most overrated Mon in the OU metagame. Of course, Morgan OU, I don't think there's another OU around, but yeah. Hitting us up with his pick and starting off why this is most overrated will be Nacho.
Well, my pick is Klefki, mainly because I think it's a really passive mon, which can't do much apart from setting screens or spikes for the team. Well, Mexican tier waves around there. I searched for the usage of OU, and it's actually around 4% in the 46th place, right before Superior. And I think it can perfectly drop to UU if people notice how bad it is. And I think it's a setup fodder for some mounts that are ground types or with immunity to electric type, because its offensive stats aren't really good. And I think you can substitute it with another steel type perfectly, as it's not a very solid fairy type in my opinion.
Okay, nice. Good start. Next up, we got Ryquin. What is your pick?
My pick is Breloom. And for me, there's two main things that Breloom can do, and that's spore things and put them to sleep. And it has technician boosted moves like Mach Punch and Bullet Seed. And I guess it has a small niche in the fact that it's the only one that can do both of those things, but those jobs that it can do are better suited on other mons. Mega Venusaur is a better sleep inducer because it's bulkier, has a higher base speed than Breloom, it has reliable recovery, which is better utilized on a bulky mon rather than Breloom, because I mean both of them get synthesis, but Mega Venusaur uses it better. And Mega Venusaur can hit on both sides as well. It gets, it can have swords dancing and all that stuff if it wants to. And if you're looking at the other side of it, what Breloom can do with the priority and Mach Punch and the Bullet Seed and all that stuff, Scizor and Mega Scizor are better powerful priority users than Breloom, mainly because the Steel priority hits better things than the Fighting priority. You hit Rock and Ice types the same, but you also hit the Fairy types as well with the Steel type. And Fairy types like Megaltari and Clefable, they're huge threats which can easily be taken down. And Breloom is slow, it's only base 70, it's outsped by so many things like even Mega Venusaur, Klefki like you mentioned, the Lati twins, Jirachi, Tornadus Therian. There's just so much stuff that resists those moves and can just, absolutely destroy it because it's frail. It's really, really frail. And as I said, Breloom sure has a niche because of the fact that it can do both the sleep and the, the technician priority and things like that. But for me, that doesn't warrant it a place on a team when those jobs can be handed out to other mons. And for me, that makes it the most overrated mon in OU.
Thanks for that. And as last, we got Gubs. What is your pick and why?
So my pick is Magnezone because it really only fulfills one role on every team that it's on. It's a special attacker and it's Scarfer specs. It's never anything else, and you also know its entire moveset every time you're playing against it. It's Volt Switch, T-Bolt, HP Fire, Flash Cannon. They very rarely go HP Ice. They very rarely go HP Grass, especially in this OU environment. And I really don't think that lends itself too well to this Oris OU metagame because it is so matchup based. Basically knowing exactly what one of your opponent's Pokemon is going to do is very valuable, and the fact that it almost always has the same ability as well, that being Magnet Pool, to me is just, it's so blasé, it's so boring. It's the same Pokemon over and over again. It's only there to kill Skarmory and Scizor, and sometimes Ferrothorn. Like it to me, it's just not what an OU Pokemon should be right now. I think it should probably be BL or UU. I don't necessarily think it's that great in OU at the moment. I know some people will disagree, but
That's
a
why
base
we're here.
60 speed, yeah, I know a base 60 speed Scarfer is pretty slow. I think that tops out at 360, but because you're losing one speed IV because of HP Fire, that puts you at 358 speed. So it's outsped by a lot of Pokemon without a Scarf as well. So all in all, I think Magnezone is pretty overrated, and yeah, it sucks.
Okay, nice ending on that. And yeah, starting from the with the first, of course, Nacho. What is your opinion about the other picks? Why are they better than they say, or whatever you want to say?
I'm gonna talk first about Breloom. In my opinion, Breloom is something that OU needs because it's a hard hitter. There are a lot of things that can switch into it. I'm not gonna question it. I mean, one is the Latitudes, which are one of the most common ones at the moment. Defensive steel types such as Scar, Mega Venusaur as well. But Mega Breloom is neither a wall breaker. I mean, the priority Mach Punch, I think the only two moves with Mach Punch in OU are Conkeldurr and Breloom. Plus, the Spore is really annoying. And also something he said about Sleep Powder Venusaur. I don't think you want to waste the slot in Venusaur to put the Sleep Powder on, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think Breloom has a really respectable niche in OU right now, as the Sash can come really handy against some mons like Manaphy or a lot of Self-Sweepers, which are really common in the tier right now. And about Magnezone, I think it's actually really good at the moment. Steel types such as Megaltaria, Megacaesar, Skarmory, not Megaltaria, Megacaesar, are the only thing that stops things like Megaltaria to sweep a team. And there are not a lot of Shad Shells steel types going around there. And I think Magnezone can be a really important move for some teams. Like, if you trap the steel type, you can just sweep with your setup sweeper. Like Megaltaria plus Magnezone is a real common core. Ferrothorn, I think it has a really good niche right now. That's just my opinion.
Okay, next up, Raikkonen. Why is Breloom way more overrated, or just more overrated than the other two?
Well, for me, Klefki, although you say it's set up fodder on ground types or those with electric immunity, great, but there's all of the entire other OU tier that it can just T-wave and stop the setup. Unless, of course, it's a slow one. And it does have its own niche. It is the only one that can do priority screens and spikes, not to mention you can run some fun sets with like Magnet Rise and things like that. And I think it is stronger than people give it credit for. It has base 80 in both attacks, I believe. And like I said, it's not very versatile, but nothing else can do what Klefki can do. And for me, that warrants it a place because it has its own niche. It can't be overrated because there's nothing else that can do Klefki's job. And it's a great support mod. Having screens and getting into something else means that you can then set up behind screens. And for me, that is just... it can completely change the entire course of a game when you have something like Klefki. And for Magnezone, there are some really common steel types thrown around that Magnezone can trap. And as you said, it may be kind of predictable having Magnet Pull, but what if it's not? What if you have Analytic with a base 60 mon? If someone wants to switch into that, someone's going to have to take like an Analytic Volt Switch, and that is just terrifying from someone with base 130 special attack. But even if you are running Magnet Pull, the ability to potentially trap things like, this Skarmory and Scizor's Mega and Regular, even things like, even the ability to know that your opponent isn't going to switch out when you're in against things like, I don't know, Bisharp or Mega Metagross or Jirachi, you can trap Ferrothorn. There's just so many steel types that I think that Magnezone can either just trap in and know that they're not going to switch and you can play around it, or be able to take on and take out as well. I think that there's not much that can do what Magnezone can do either. And that's why I think that Breloom is way more overrated than the other two, because things can do Breloom's job better, but nothing can do what Klefki or Magnezone can do.
Okay, thanks for that. And of course, we got one last guy to say things about the other two, which is Gabs. Hit us up.
So let's start with Klefki. Klefki definitely is not overrated. Klefki, if anything, is underrated. You talked about its usage. It's only like 4%, you said. Klefki is probably one of the best answers to physical setup sweepers in the game, like aside from maybe Thundurus Incarnate. It has the Prankster T-Wave. It has spikes to set up to damage Pokemon for offensive teams. If you're running a Klefki, spikes is a huge help. Like Raikwin said, it can set up screens. And then you have Foul Play. Foul Play is the crux of a lot of Klefki sets. It prevents Mons from setting up on Klefki. When they get the T-Wave off, then they just start smacking huge physical hitters in the face with Foul Play and take them down because of their best attribute. That means Mons like Scizor, Megazard X. A lot of those Mons are going to struggle to set up on a good player using Klefki. A bad player using Klefki, yeah, they're probably going to find a way around that Klefki. But a good player using Klefki is likely going to not have it be setup fodder and is actually going to use it as anti-setup with moves like T-Wave and Foul Play. Now on Breloom, you say a lot of Mons can't do what Magnezone and Klefki can do. Well, not a lot of Mons can do what Breloom can do either. There's not a lot of Mons that learn Spore, and there's not a lot of Mons that learn Spore with that much offense to back it up. But Breloom, while it is slow and has a few really key weaknesses like Flying and Fire and Psychic, and I think even Poison. Those are a lot of weaknesses, I get that, but it's still a very scary Pokemon, and if you get it in on the right opportunity and get that Spore off, and you've weakened threats like Mega Venusaur, Talonflame. Like, Talonflame does not want to take a +2 Mach Punch. After Rocks, I think a lot of Talonflame sets are going to struggle against that Breloom. And with Focus Sash, like Nacho talked about, we can see it even take a Brave Bird and get a Rock Tomb off, or just get a hit off with Mach Punch after all that recoil damage Talonflame takes. So I really think that Breloom is not overrated. That is probably one of the scarier Mons in OU right now because of a lot of Pokemon running around don't exactly appreciate taking hits from that thing, and it's a pretty difficult Mon to switch into if you don't have a Pokemon like Skarmory, Mega Venusaur, or Mega Scizor. And even if you have Skarm or Mega Scizor, they just drop a Spore on your head and you're asleep, and then you get set up on. So I really think Magnezone is the most overrated because it's just the one Mon you know what it's going to do.
Okay, now we heard all of those. I can, just for the fact, I checked it. A +2 Mach Punch from a Jolly Breloom does, where is it? 43 to 51% to a Talonflame.
Yeah.
So you were true about it. It could KO after Rocks.
Yeah.
But, okay. Now, last round of closing statements I would call out right now. We are already at 30 minutes for the first round. So, Nacho, closing statement about Klefki, or anything else you want to say about what was said about it?
No.
No, nothing to add? Okay. Raikwin?
Sorry, I was just having a coughing fit. The only thing about that +2 Mach Punch you were saying is if your sash is broken on that Breloom, then Brave Bird kills you.
Yeah.
And the thing with Breloom is, as you said, it's slow and it's frail. The combination of that is just kind of sucky because you don't even have to have a super effective hit on it. If you have a strong stab hit, Breloom's still probably going down. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to. I think I've covered everything else.
One thing I forgot to say about Breloom is that it takes one of the most threatening moves at the moment, which is B-Sharp. As it kind of speed ties, but resists the Sucker Punch and can just OHKO any variant with Mach Punch. Yep.
Okay.
So that, I think that's a point.
Closing statement from you, Gabs? Anything?
Yeah, I think I've said what needs to be said. Magnezone is a one-trick pony. Or a one-trick magnet, whatever it is.
Okay. I heard all of those, and it's a pretty good round. I had some good stuff. And I agree with Gabs on this, that Klefki is, I would say, too, it's more underrated, like after hearing all this stuff. I didn't quite like the argument about Breloom that it's that other can do Mach Punch, strong priority shenanigans too, and other things can put it to sleep. But Breloom, like you said yourself, Breloom's the only thing which can do both. Because after that you use the argument against Klefki, that there are other spikers, there are other Trick Room setters, but this is the only one which can do both. So this argument kind of got in the way. Magnezone, trapping is a very strong ability, and paired with stuff like Mega Altaria and what else got mentioned to trap the only counters basically a team has. If it's a good team, like you don't run 3 Mega Altaria checks. But yeah, I am like Klefki is out of the way. I'm debating between Breloom and Magnezone winning this round. So Nacho,
Yeah.
what? In your honest opinion now, what's the most overrated in your opinion? As a second statement to
If
this.
I had to decide between Breloom and Magnezone, I think I would go with Breloom because I think that Magnezone is like a necessary mon in the metagame right now. And even though it does one thing that basically he and Gothitard are the only Pokemon with viable trap ability because Dugtrio sucks.
Dugtrio is viable too.
And I think I want to go with Breloom this round.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, Gabs, you have to spend some more money if you still want to win this. But I give this point this round. This round goes to Breloom and Raikou.
Woo!
Congrats on that.
I did a thing. I'm happy.
Nice.
I did not get 0 points.
I like that. I like the round. Like I said, I was most excited for this round because you can't rate overratedness. Like there's no scaling to that. So I was excited for the arguments, and I liked this one. Good job to everyone, of course. Of course. Yeah, you have to say that. But okay, up to round 2 and see if someone can, if Raikou can step ahead or someone can break the tie, or no, create a tie. This is the thing. But yeah, round 2 is best Trick Room setter in a league format. And now we start with someone else, of course, and Raikou just won, so let's hear Gabs. What is your pick on this topic?
Okay, so mine is Porygon 2, and this is a mon that I have the most experience with out of the 3 that were chosen, which I'll wait for you guys to talk about on your own, but I picked Porygon 2 because it has a lot of good abilities to pair with its Trick Room setting, and it's really, really bulky with Eviolite. Like, that is probably the bulkiest Eviolite user, I would say, if not one of, I mean, I guess Chansey. But other than Chansey, like, there's very few bulky Eviolite users like Porygon 2, and with abilities such as Trace, Analytic, and Download, those are all 3 usable abilities to catch your opponent off guard with. It also has a fantastic move pool. It has moves like Discharge, Ice Beam, it has Tri-Attack as well. It has a ton of power to back up its Trick Room setting. It doesn't just have to be a wall. But then you also throw onto it the fact that it gets moves like Toxic, T-Wave, Recover. It has so much utility to back up its Trick Room setting that like, it doesn't even have to be an obvious Trick Room setter. Like, it can very sneakily get a Trick Room set up to allow the other mons to come in and take advantage of that. And because it only has one weakness, it's fairly predictable to tell what your opponent is going to be throwing at this Porygon 2 as well. It's likely going to be fighting attacks, and switching into that is pretty easily because a lot of mons in Trick Room also are Psychic types, so you do have to watch out for knockoff, because that is a priority for Porygon 2, knocking off that Eviolite. But after that's out of the way, switching in a Psychic type might not be such a scary proposition, and that's why I think Porygon 2 is a good Trick Room setter in a league format.
Nice. Next up, we got Nacho. What is your pick and why?
My pick is Renickles. First of all, I have experience with Renickles as I used in Gypsy Season 2 and faced it in Season 1. And the good thing about Renickles is that when you're facing it, you can expect basically anything from it, because it can be from a Calma user to a Trick Room sweeper, even a Specs or AV set, which doesn't need its ability like Porygon 2 to hit hard. It already hits hard. It has 2 wonderful abilities, which are Magic Guard and Regenerator. Magic Guard is incredibly good for a Life Orb set because you don't get that recoil from Life Orb. And under Trick Room, Renicul's base 30, so anything is going to outslow it. It has, I think, base 125 special attack, and has a insane coverage. It has Psychic, Side Shot, Fox Blast, Energy Ball, Thunder, Focus Punch. So you can expect anything from it, and there are only a few things that can wall it. Even the most bulky things like Chansey or Blissey can't beat it if it's a Calm Mind set. So that's why I think it's the best option, and also it can perfectly go defensive as Porygon 2. And yeah, also Regenerator is good for a bulky Trick Room setter, as it can switch again and set Trick Room for basically all the match. So that's why I think Renico is the best Trick Room user in a league format.
Okay, thank you for that. And as last, we got Rykrin. What do you have for us?
Well, my pick is Slowking. Building on from what you said about Regenerator Trick Room users being very good, Slowking is also one of those. It has very similar bulk to Reuniclus as well. I think Reuniclus has 110, 75, 85, and Slowking has 95, 80, 110. So it's relatively same bulk. It gets Regenerator, and which, as you said, is very good because you set Regenerator, you switch to something else, and Slowking benefits from that as well. Slowking's coverage is very, very good. It gets things like Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Focus Blast, Ice Beam, Grass Knot, even things that will come in on League format, things that you wouldn't normally expect, things like Power Gem, which can be very good against someone's team if the matchup is right. Shadow Ball, Signal Beam. If you even wanted to go that way, you can go physical with that thing. It has base 75 attack, which is, not great, but if the matchup's there, you get Drain Punch, Earthquake, Dragon Tail, you get Foul Play, Ice Punch, all that jazz. But when combined with a Life Orb, it has base 100 special attack. Combined with a Life Orb, it can do some serious damage, and when your opponent's not prepped for it. And what makes Slowking so great is that it can set the Trick Room up for itself, or it can pass into someone else. And especially because I think Slowking, people don't necessarily expect Trick Room on it. It can just be a very bulky mon with Regenerator. That's what its normal role is. But if your opponent isn't prepped for a Trick Room set and you pop that thing, that coverage that you have on Slowking can take out an entire team.
Yes, that is definitely true. And yeah, we start from the beginning already. Gabs, why is Porygon 2 superior to the other two?
Okay, well, let's beat down Slowking first. You say Trick Room isn't expected on Slowking. I think that's maybe a bit of a false statement. I think a lot of people know Slowking is one of the better Trick Room setters in the lower tiers, and they definitely expect to see that. Also, the thing with Trick Room is it's taking up one of your move slots, so you're going to lose a lot of that coverage that you talk about with Slowking already. And if you want Slowking to have survivability, yes, it does have Regenerator, but that's not always going to cut it. Sometimes you need to have Slack Off, and I think in most scenarios, you're probably going to end up going Dual Stab, Slack Off, Trick Room. Of course, it is League format, so you can tailor-make your coverage to deal with certain things, but I feel like you're somewhat hampered by the fact that Slowking is so slow off the initial turns before it gets Trick Room set up. And I think the other thing with both of these mons they've mentioned, they're both weak to knockoff. Porygon 2 is not weak to knockoff. In fact, it takes knockoff really well because of Eviolite. Sure, you lose the Eviolite, but it still takes that knockoff really well, and it has Recover to keep its HP high even after that. So all it has to fear after knockoff is basically status and fighting type attacks, while after knockoff, Slowking and Reuniclus are either losing a lot of power because they were running Life Orb, or they're losing a lot of their passive recovery because of lefties, and that basically forces you to run Regenerator if that's the case. Otherwise, you're not going to be healing up all the time. You're going to be taking a ton of damage on switches if you're Regenerator Reuniclus and there's hazards up. So I just feel like overall, Porygon 2 is better suited to take hits and to keep Trick Room set up throughout the game than Reuniclus and Slowking are. I'm not saying Porygon 2 is a better Pokemon, but I'm saying as a Trick Room setter and keeping that Trick Room up throughout the game, Porygon 2 is going to have the most survivability to keep it sustained throughout the entire duration of the game.
Okay, yeah, like we are talking about Trick Room here, like any mod may be better than the others, but the ability to set up Trick Room is what we are talking about here. So I like that one, and yeah, Nacho, Reuniclus.
I think Reuniclus. Let's go with Porygon first. What I think that it will be the worst thing about Porygon is that it doesn't have moves like Calm Mind or Nasty Blood set of moves, which makes it not capable to beat things like Floor, just like Blissey. I mean, you can bank on a 50%.
I'll do it all day.
I mean, you're not Jirachi, you ain't getting the sector effect all day. And also, Charge Beam. Also, what I think that makes Reuniclus great is Magic Guard, because one of the things that fat mons like Florges or Blissey run is toxic to wear down the opposing. Holy shit, I can't speak English today. And the other mon. And Reuniclus just doesn't give a fuck about toxic because of Magic Guard. A Calm Mind set of Slowking can be bet by a toxic user. Porygon 2 is going down to toxic also. And that's maybe what I don't like about Porygon 2. Also, if you want to hit hard, you need to get a boost from download. If you don't get it, you're going to be weak, because I think Porygon 2 is base 100 attack or something like that.
It's 105.
105, yeah. With download potentially.
Yeah, which isn't really strong, and sometimes you ain't getting the special attack boost because sometimes you get attack boost, which is useless.
Well, it's based off your opponent's defensive stats.
Yeah.
So if you know which ones are higher, you can manipulate download to your advantage.
Yeah, but you are always going to get it. Like, sometimes you have to switch into something with higher special defense and get the attack boost. And that's all I have to say about Porygon 2. I think that Slowking and Reuniclus are very similar Pokemon. Like, they both have really good coverage, they both are psychic types, and they both have access to Side Shock, which lets them eat in the physical side too. Something that Porygon 2 can't do. What I think that is better of Reuniclus is that I think it has better bulk due to its HP. Like, it can go either physical or special defensive and be really bulky in both sides. Slowking is a bit weak in the physical side, but the coverage that they have is really similar. They both are really slow, and Reuniclus is a bit stronger, and Magic Guard too, which I think it's what makes it the best Trick Room user.
Okay,
well,
we got that. That's all?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thought you wanted to say something. But yeah, as last, Raikwin. Slowking, why is it better than the other two?
As Nacho was saying, Reuniclus and Slowking are indeed very similar. But one thing that Slowking gets that Reuniclus does not, Scald. So when you're trying to talk about if you're bringing like a Calm Minding set, it's going to be very difficult to take down on the special side. And something that can stop it from the physical side is if you get a Scald burn, which, because Scald has an 87.5% chance to burn, because you get those all the time. You can really cripple those physical attackers if they do try and take you down like that. And of course, in Trick Room, you'll be outspeeding them so you can get off the Scald first. Not only that, it does have slightly better coverage, I think, because Reuniclus's coverage is kind of Flash Cannon, Focus Blast, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, and Thunder for whatever reason. But Slowking, like I said before, I think it has a bit more than that, and especially when you're talking League format, when you're talking prep, you can have one of those moves that hits the one you don't hit with your stab move or your stab move of choice, or if you're having dual stab, you can have the one move that doesn't hit a specific mon on your team. You can prep that move, which Reuniclus may not have in certain situations, just with the slightly less coverage that it does get. And the thing is, with Reuniclus, people are going to look at it and pretty much every time they're going to expect Trick Room, because Reuniclus it works best in Trick Room. Outside of Trick Room, it's decent, but it's nowhere near as good as it is in Trick Room. And as I was saying before, Gubs mentioned it before, when I said that people don't expect Trick Room on Slowking, it's not that necessarily people don't expect it and won't prep for it, but it's not as rampantly common as, for example, Trick Room on Reuniclus, because it's on in League format in particular, it's on the vast majority of sets on Reuniclus. Slowking, not so much. I think it's on a lot of sets. It's not on, I wouldn't say, a majority. I would say that the majority of Slowking sets actually just are bulk and a bulky. From my experience, at least in what I've seen, Slowking is generally being brought as just a bulky mon, a bulky water type. The thing with Porygon 2 is that, in my opinion, it's too quick for Trick Room. Base 60 speed, there's things that can outslow it. And bearing that in mind, it can be prepped for. If your team has something quite slow, you can prep for that Trick Room and have something specifically slower than Porygon 2, especially if you have a fighting type. And when it's Porygon 2, you're almost certainly going to be holding an Eviolite, which means it can't have as much power. Sure, you can have the download boost, but it's not guaranteed. Like Nacho was saying, you may get that attack boost instead of the special attack boost, and you can't utilize that power like you want. Whereas with Reuniclus and Slowking, what you can do is you can have the Life Orb. And also, if you're having Analytic on P2, you can't make use of it in Trick Room, because you'll be moving first if you're slower than your opponent. So, in my opinion, the fact that Slowking gets Water, Stab, specifically Scold, combined with that Psychic Stab, combined with the coverage it gets, combined with its slow speed, its base 30, the same as Reuniclus, that's what makes Slowking better than the other two, in my humble opinion.
Okay, nice. We heard all of the rambles of these fine gentlemen, so does anyone have a closing statement? Let's start with Gubs.
Yeah. Okay, so on download, I forgot to mention about download. If the stats are equal defensively, it automatically defaults to special attack. So more often than not, you're getting a special attack boost. Let's get that out of the way first. Secondly, you talk about Porygon 2 speed. Base 60 still isn't fast. If you EV it to be slow as a base 60, it's still going to be slower than the vast majority of Pokemon out there. Most defensive sets do not involve minimum speed IVs with no investment. Most defensive sets still have 31 speed IVs, so they're likely going to be outspeeding Porygon 2 regardless. I will accept that its power is lacking, but like I said, it's not a sweeper, it's a Trick Room setter. And I think it has the most longevity as a Trick Room setter.
Okay, Nacho, you want to say something?
Yep. First off, Trick Room said Slowking has access to Scald and Water Step, but that means another thing, which is more weaknesses. Slowking has a dual type, which makes it weak to electric types and grass types. Grass types aren't the most common Pokemons in the game. In League format neither, but electric types are really common in League format. There are a lot of teams with fast electric types like Illisk, Thunderous. Almost every team in a league has an electric type, and I think that's what makes Reuniclus maybe a bit better, not much, but just a bit better than Slowking. And also, I wanted to say something about Reuniclus, which is I think the most common set is Calmine. Calmine is the scariest set by far, because if you knock off Reuniclus, don't kill it and he recovers, next knockoff is going to do almost half, so it can easily sweep. And going on Porygon 2, and the bad thing of Porygon is that it's not a sweeper, as Gub said, so you waste 2 turns, one to set Trick Room and another one to switch, and the switch can be predicted, maybe, not surely, but maybe. And there are only 3 turns of Trick Room, which I think that is what makes it a bit worse than the other 2 Pokemons, in my opinion.
Okay, Rycran, your last chance to say something about Slowking?
Yeah.
If you want to.
Yep. What Gubs was saying about normally things will still outspeed Porygon 2 if it's specifically, EV and IV to be slow. That's true, but if your opponent sees the Trick Room coming, like we're saying, in the League format, your opponent knows the P2 is coming. If they prep for a Trick Room P2, they can have things that are still slower than it, whereas there's not many things that can physically be slower than Slowking. But I see your point though. With what was it that Nacho was saying? It does have more weaknesses, like you were saying. Fast electric type is very common, but that's the point. It's a fast electric type, and if they try and switch that in on a Slowking as you set up a Trick Room, then you're quicker than the electric type, and it gives you a choice to do what you want to do. You can try and attack it. For example, if it's Heliolisk and you have a flamethrower, that's going to be doing a lot of damage because of dry skin. Or you can just switch out, make use of the Trick Room on someone else. The fact that that Slowking is weak to quick electric types isn't so quick when you have Trick Room up. So I don't see that as a huge hindrance to Slowking that much. But I think I've covered pretty much everything up to there. So yeah.
Okay, nice. I heard all of this, and I agree that definitely that Slowking and Reuniclus are superior in that way to Porygon 2, that they can use the Trick Room more effective themselves than Porygon 2. Porygon 2 is bulkier. It probably may, even without a generator, it may live the battle longer, if that makes sense to say. And so I see Porygon more as a support Trick Roomer, like a second option from a Trick Room guy. But for the guys wondering, I checked it. 0 IVs minus speed nature Porygon 2 still outslows up down to base 40s. So everything slower than base 40 would be faster in Trick Room. If that makes sense. And now to Reuniclus and Slowking, to compare those. You both said that they are very similar because of the generator. They're both psychic types, they're both bulky. They have the same speed tier in 30, and the bulk is pretty similar. Reuniclus of course has a high HP set, so it has a better chance going defensive in both ways. As of Slowking is more especially bulky than Reuniclus. The argument was brought up that Slowking has better coverage, which is pretty good in a league format. Like, if you have coverage for everything, the opponent has to fear it. But I like the argument that Gabs brought up. You probably have to run Trick Room if you want to run a Trick Room setter, obviously. And one move slot will be probably Slack Off, and then you have only 2 options left. And I don't see you sweeping a team with only 2 moves. Like, only if your opponent is, of course, like, if the matchup is right, if your opponent is maybe not that experienced and is build a team with every Slowking, it may happen, but it won't happen like every time, of course. But Reuniclus, but like what he's superior to, he's stronger, so like that's obvious thing. 20 more base attack, or 25 even. And Magikarp, like Nacho said, so I have to agree with Nacho on this. I think Reuniclus is the best Trick Room setter. Slowking may be the better general mon, like if you need other mon coverage, bulky one, but I give this point to Nacho and Reuniclus. I think this was the strongest of the 3.
That's fair.
So,
that's fair.
Come on, Gabs, you got one more round to tie things up, like you wanted.
Yeah, let's get it.
So, okay, last round. We can get to that very fast, which is
Here we go.
best second gen mon in the league format. I know we have this time 2 questions about the league format, but we have 3 league players here, or past league players, so why not? They have experience there, they can dish out some good arguments. And this time we start with Gabs. Again? Did you start already?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I
right.
started last
I think it should be me.
Yeah, Raikkonen, it's your turn. I'm sorry.
Okay, the best second gen mon in a league format, my pick is Raikou. A staple on basically every single league team ever is a fast electric type, and Raikou is one of the best, if not the best, quick electric type in the game. Its coverage is very, very good, it's very powerful, and it can run a variety of sets. You can run it Scarf, Specs, Life Orb, Subcalm Mind. There's various things you can do with Raikou, and all of them are very, very, very scary. So that is why Raikou is the best second gen mon.
Okay, next up. Now, Gabs, now you can talk.
I got the big, bad, clappy, monkey-looking Toad, Politoed, for my pick, because Politoed not only is better than people would expect, because it has a wide variety of attacks it can use, but it also sets up rain when it switches in with Drizzle, which is amazing. It opens up an entire world of possibilities for a team which otherwise wouldn't exist. You get 100% accurate Hurricane, 100% accurate Thunder. You get stab water attacks boosted by 50%, fire attacks reduced by 50%, which means you can use defensive synergy as well with Rain, not just offense. You get Rain Dish, you get Swift Swim. It makes Kingdra 10 times better. It makes Kabutops 10 times better. It makes Tornadus Therian even better. It makes Raikou even better. It makes everything that can abuse Rain even better and makes anything that doesn't even worse, which is why Politoed is by far the best Gen 2 mon for a League format.
Going in hard on this one, and as last, Nacho.
Well, my pick is Selby. As I picked Selby because I think it's the most versatile second gen mon, as it can literally do anything. It can run Swords Dance, it can run Nasty Block, it can be a defensive set. It's not really strong, but if your team needs speed, it can go Scarf because it has good coverage. Not insane, but good. Good thing about Selby is that it gets both Giga Drain and Seed Bomb, which hit the special and physical side, and with the Psychic type move we have the same. We have Sun Headbutt and we have Psychic. And it has access to moves like Earth Power, it has access to Calm Mind, Battle Pass, U-Turn, so it can be a good Vulture user. And I think it's more versatile than both Raikou and Politoed. Maybe can't hit too hard, and that 4 times weakness is like devastating for it, but I still think that Selby is the second gen mon for a league.
Okay, cool. Then let's hop right into the counter arguments. Right, Quinn, what are you gonna say about the 2 picks?
Right. Okay, so, Celebi, I actually drafted that in Season 1 of the PPL. I had it on my team, and I barely brought it throughout the entire season. The reason being is that I was terrified of bug coverage from basically all corners. U-turn, destroy Celebi. Not to mention things like Signal Beam. A lot of mons get, the surprise Signal Beam. And I was actually also scared of Hidden Power Bug, which sounds stupid at first, but 2 of my opponents did actually bring it in the season. And when you start getting in that mindset, from a team building perspective, even if your opponent doesn't bring bug coverage to deal with Celebi, it's in your head when you're team building, when you're prepping, and it forces you to think, oh, well, if they're bringing Hidden Power Bug, why don't I bring an Assault Vest? Why don't I bring a Tanga Berry to try and take bug hits? It just reduces Celebi's usability, and it can even stop you from bringing it to games, because you're too worried about that bug coverage that may come or may not come. And in general, the base 100 Pixies are very good. The likes of Mew and Manaphy and Victini are all very, very good. But I just don't feel that Celebi is in the same tier as those base 100 Pixies. It's a very good mon, by all means it is a very good mon, but I feel like that 4 times weakness just completely, it's really, really sucky for Celebi, because bug is very common. When you see Volt turn on a lot of teams, that really screws it up. Not the Volt, but the turn bit really screws up Celebi. And in terms of Politoed, while it's cool because it sets up the rain, as you said, it opens a world of possibilities, that's great. Rain team, on any other team, it's just a kind of bulky water type, except not a good bulky water type, because there's about 7 better ones than that. The likes of Milotic and Vaporeon and Suicune and literally every other bulky water type ever. Politoed is a decent mon, but by all means, it's a decent mon. But outside of that rain setting possibility, which, like I said, it's nice for rain teams. But the thing is, Politoed is a staple for rain teams. Raikou is a staple for every team. Every single league team needs a fast electric type, and Raikou is the best fast electric type. That's what makes it better than Celebi and Politoed. Raikou can work on every team. Celebi and Politoed can't.
Okay. Gaps, your counterpoint on that, or why is Politoed better than the other 2?
So Politoed is better because it's just better. No, Politoed is better because it, like I said, it opens up so many possibilities. You say it's only good on a rain team. Well, if you're not drafting a rain team, you're probably not drafting Politoed. Let's be real.
Exactly.
Drizzle is one of the best abilities, if not the best, in the game. It got Manaphy banned last gen. It got Tornadus banned last gen, and I understand this is standard, but in a league format, it increases the value of Manaphy. Tornadus, Raikou, that you have Thunderous, so many mons, like, it's just ridiculous. You can even have a mon like Moltres, which gets Hurricane, and it could spam that. Volcarona has some rain sets it can run as well. It opens up so many possibilities, and then let's look at Raikou. Raikou, I wouldn't even say is the best electric type in league formats. I would say Thunderous Incarnate is, but that's just me. And I just think Raikou gets pigeonholed into a certain role on teams because it's so rare to have a fast electric type. There's very few that exist. So it's likely going to be a special attacker that's really fast. You might see Calm Mind come out a couple weeks, but overall it's going to be using probably 4 different attacks, and it doesn't even have that good a coverage. It relies heavily on Hidden Power, which got nerfed to hell this gen. And I really just think that Raikou is not as good as a mon like Thunderous Incarnate, which can set up nasty plots and can hit much harder. Has Prankster, which is a fantastic ability, and Raikou is stuck with Pressure, which on a mon like Raikou, Pressure is not really that great. I don't think they've released the hidden abilities for them yet, and that they have, you have to use a certain nature and have a certain spread, so to me, that's not that great. And then let's look at Celebi. Celebi, like you said, has a 4 times weakness to Bug, is weak to Dark, is weak to Flying, is weak to Fire, is weak to everything, basically. And
Did you say
Ice as well. Yeah, Ice. I've used Celebi in leagues before. It's good, but the thing is, those weaknesses are really a big liability, and you have to build a ton of defensive synergy to have your team coalesce when you use Celebi. And with Politoed, you don't. It's a pure water type. It has 2 weaknesses, Grass and Electric, pretty easy to patch up. So I think overall Politoed, with its utility with Encore, Toxic, Focus Blast, Scald, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, so many different great attacks that you can throw on there. It's just the best Pokemon in Gen 2 League formats because it makes teams infinitely better.
Yeah, very nice. And Nacho, what do you got to say about the other 2?
First, let's talk about Politoed. I heavily disagree with that pick, because if you draft Politoed, you must draft Rain, as Raikkonen said. And outside of Rain is not going to work, that's obvious, but when you're playing Rain, you have a disadvantage, which is that you are really predictable. Like, if this guy has a Politoed, the Rain team is going to bring Rain. It's really obvious, and the opponent can prepare relatively easily for it. That's what I think that makes Politoed a bit worse than the other 2 picks, because outside of Rain it does nothing. Like, there are a lot of bulky waters that outclass it. And about Raikou, Raikou is really good, but even though it can be a Sentinel Sweeper or a spec set, it's always going to be a special attacker, and it gets walled by basically any ground type that doesn't have another second type that makes it weak to I don't know, to HP Ice 4 times, like Garchomp. Most like Hippowdon, even most that are not that bulky, like Mamoswine, that run an AV set and can wall it, and there are a lot of examples. That's what I think that makes Raikou a bit worse, and even though Celebi has a 4 times weakness to Bug, apart from U-turn, there are not a lot of moves that people usually spam, so unless they bring HP Bug on one specific mon like Keldeo, Celebi can do the job, like walling things or being a setup. Not Sweeper, but it can pass Nasty Blow, Swords Dance, and that's what I think that makes Celebi better. That it can do a lot of things and can go both physically and special. That are things that Raikou and Politoed can't make.
Okay, nice. So, Raikkonen, do we start with you? Any closing statement about Raikou or everything else?
Yeah, when Gubs was saying that Raikou's coverage isn't that great, sure, but it does get the likes of Extra Sensory, Aura Sphere, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, and then of course it's Electric Stab, any kind of hidden power. Like you said, it was nerfed, but, you know, whatever. Also, Assault Vest Mamoswine does not wall a Raikou because a Specs Aura Sphere still 2-hit KOs it. Raikou, let's not forget, you're saying it has to be a special attacker, That is true, but let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, the Rogue Extreme Speed Raikou. You never know. It can come in clutch, you never know. Just having that possibility is cool. And you can bring it, catch someone off guard, and kill something, revenge kill something. And I have seen it happen multiple times in leagues that I am a part of and that I have been watching. Raikou's actually done that. So that's why I think Raikou is amazing. Like I said, I think, in my opinion, it is the best fast electric type, and a fast electric type is a staple for any league team.
Okay, good note to end on that. And Gabs, your closing statement?
Okay, so, where do I start? Oh, jeez. Okay, Politoed makes everything better. It makes Ludicolo, Kabutops, Kingdra, for example, it makes them better. You can get those mons on a bargain in leagues. You can get them late, and all of a sudden they become core members of a team. You don't have to build a team solely based around Rain with Politoed. You can pick 3 or 4 mons that function really well in Rain, then fill out the rest of your roster with Pokemon that supplement Rain really well, but also work well outside of Rain. You don't have to just focus on Rain with Politoed, but a good Rain core can punch holes in a ton of teams, and that's why I think Politoed is head and shoulders above anything else, because it creates viability for mons you otherwise would not see as viable. Kingdra is maybe a good pick outside of Rain, but Kabutops, Ludicolo, those mons are not picked outside of Rain, but when they're in Rain, they become the heaviest of hitters, and they become the biggest threats that you have to plan for each and every week. And that's why Politoed, in my opinion, is the best.
Okay, and Nacho, anything left to say about Selby or anything else?
Not really, I just wanted to say that I seek so that team with extreme speed Raikou, but that's just a fact. It was in playoffs, so it made it even more interesting. Well, that's all I have to say, really.
Shout out to Bob at this point. But okay, now that I heard all, I definitely agree with everyone. Each of these are pretty good mons in the league format, but I'm here to choose the best mon, or not the best mon in my opinion, just to basically pick the best argument for the mon. And what all of guys said, let's talk first about Celebi. Celebi, it's like you all counted all the dozens of weaknesses had. It is actually the mon with the most weaknesses, with some other mons in that category, but it is mon with the most weaknesses. That really hinders its if you want to run a bulky set. And on the other hand, like I said, it lacks power, which really hinders its offensive stat. So, yeah, that was the arguments brought up against that. Next up, we have Raikou. Raikou is a fast electric type. Yes, fast electric types are very good in the league format, like already proven by many people. But Raikou really it struggles because of the move pool. Other fast electric types have a way better move pool or way more options than Raikou. It still has options, of course, coverage moves like Shadow Ball, Aura Sphere, Single Beam and stuff. But yeah, it really struggles with that. And as last we have Politoed. Politoed created like the whole Rain theme. They make Rain team possible. Like Gav said, you don't the argument that you have to run Rain with that. I mean, of course, if you draft Politoed, you will run Rain. Otherwise, you won't draft it. It makes our Pokemon shine. It's not the best bulky water. Yes, there are better options for that, but yeah, it just creates threats out of nowhere, and that that people expect you to run Rain. You can the same idea can run versus them. Like, don't bring Rain, and they're completely screwed with that team. It's a psychological war which you have to win, but yeah. In my opinion, the argument for Politoed was the best, so not only does Gabs win this round, we will have a 3-way tie this way.
I'm gonna be honest.
That's the only reason you picked it. Come on now. You only just picked it to get the tie.
I wanted Gabs
Honestly,
to win.
Who has to win? Who had to win, Nacho?
I wanted him to win, so we had to do the fast round.
Oh god.
Speed round, yeah. Because like last episode we didn't have that, but now that we have the tie, we have to go into the speed round, which I will explain very shortly. The speed round basically is another topic which all of these 3 gentlemen don't know about yet. I will reveal it, of course. Then they have time, like I believe I didn't tell, but let's say 1 minute. They can choose their pick from the topic. They have spouted out. If someone said it, he has it. No one else can get it.
Okay.
After that, each of those get first 30 seconds to talk about their mon, and then again 30 seconds after everyone talked about it to counter that part. Basically, it's a speedrun. It's the same as we did before, just fast-paced, action-packed, hopefully, and yeah.
Sonic, gotta go fast.
Gotta go fast.
Sonic.
That's right.
Gotta be Sonic.
You gotta be Raikou. Gotta go fast. Ha!
Nah.
I tried.
Okay. The topic on this one is best X and Y Mega Evolution.
Okay.
Charizard X.
Fuck.
Where is it?
Wait, what? Oh,
Mega
what?
Scizor. Mega Scizor.
Is that just
Yes,
in League format or just generally?
General.
Oh, I thought you meant like X and Y, like Mewtwo.
Mega Scizor.
Whatever. That's the one.
Mega Charizard Y.
Okay, I'm surprised no one picked Mega Mewtwo X or Y.
Oh, I thought we weren't including
confused.
Ubers. I thought
Why
you
did
meant
No, I
it.
did-
X or Y?
Yeah, no.
You said that's Mega Evolution. That confused
No,
me.
only-
No, but
only
not
X
from
and-
Oras, from X and Y is what we meant.
Yeah,
I
only
know.
X and Y. The others are not included.
I get that.
Okay. Now that we talked and you have some time, I will look at the timer and yeah. Gerbs, you said it first.
Okay.
Here are your 30 seconds, starting now.
So, Mega Charizard X is one of the most threatening sweepers in OU right now. In fact, it is S-ranked in the viability rankings, and it's been consistently ranked at the top for its entire duration. It has very versatile move pool. It can be special or physical. It can set up with Dragon Dance, set up with Swords Dance, maybe even Belly Drum if you're a real lord. And it has Will-O-Wisp for a bulky set as well. It's just got so many different options. And then the fact that there's also Charizard Y that exists only makes it better.
Okay,
because you
stop.
have to figure out which one it is.
That's all.
Shut up.
I will listen to. Okay, you got this. Nacho, you said it second. Your 30 seconds, start now.
Mega Scizor's Beast, it can go either offensive or defensive, something that Charizard can do, but Mega Scizor doesn't get affected by Toxic. It gets affected by Will-O-Wisp, but you can just self-Swords Dances against the Will-O-Wisp user and get to +6 and still hit like a truck. And it has Priority, which both of the other options don't have, and Steel type Priority is unique in Scizor. It has a good coverage, has recovery, and his typing is really great because he's only weak to fire.
And stop. That's all. So, Raikkonen, you got the most time to think. 30 seconds, starting now.
Mega Charizard Y is an absolute beast because of its ability Drought, and it has a huge special attack that when you set up the Drought, you go for Fire Blast. There's not much that can switch into that. Even something that resists it is probably still going to get 2-hit KO'd. And as Gubs was saying, the fact that Mega Charizard X exists, you have to try and figure out which one it is, and you can even bluff Mega Charizard X by going for a Dragon Dance, staying as regular Charizard, bluffing, bringing in a physical wall, you Mega Evolve into Megazord Y, and bop it with an incredibly hard-hitting special move. Let's not forget as well, it does have a decent attack set, so you can run mixed with Earthquake.
And stop. That's all. Okay, let's start with Raikkonen again. Because to make it fair, they'll ever have more time to think. 30 seconds. Why are the others inferior to your pick?
Like I was saying, Megazord Y is, there's not much that can switch into it. There are things that can stop Megazord X. There may not be many things once Megazord X starts setting up, but you can have things that can stop the setup. You can have things like Mega Scizor, full Mega Scizor, especially if it's defensive, but there is not much that can take on a Mega Charizard Y with its coverage of Fire Blast, Solar Beam, and Air Slash, and like I said, it can go mixed with Earthquake, for example. There's not much that can stop a Megazord Y once it's in, but there are things that can stop Mega Charizard X.
Okay, and stop.
Mega Scizor.
Okay, Nacho, Mega Scizor. Why it's better than the other two? Those. Go.
Oh, okay. It's not Lizard, and well, it doesn't get walled by a lot of things because it can survive against a lot of walls due to its bulk. It has priorities, something they don't have, and also it's not weak to rocks and doesn't need a defogger. And yeah, that's it. I didn't think about anything else.
Okay, ending it early. Gabs, your last 30 seconds to talk about Charizard X. Start right now.
Okay, so Mega Charizard X beats both of these mons 1v1, even if Megazord Y has Dragon Pulse, so let's get that out of the way right quick here. Alright, next. It sets up on so many different things. It can stay in that regular Zard form to take some attacks better, like if they go for Dragon attacks, it takes that better. It also has Flare Blitz with Tough Claws, which beats a lot of its counters, even without any boosts like Unaware Clefable. Overall, Mega Charizard X is the strongest of the three.
Okay, and ending before the time too. I like it. Okay, now I heard everything. I like the speed round. I always like speed rounds.
Oh, that was stressful.
That's this.
I need math.
It's very stressful. I can
Fun
imagine.
note, by the way, you were talking about if you're a lord, you can bring belly drums out X. Guess who got a 6 or a sweep with it? Yes.
I mean, if you're a lord, you can bring Vacuum Wave Mega Scissor and get the technician boost, but
And
anyway,
then not
Yes.
kill anything because it's vacuum wave mega.
Okay, and out of these three, I just have to choose Charizard X. I think it was the best choice. It beats all the other guys 1v1, and yeah.
I didn't know that was a requirement. They can
Well,
beat the other
too
ones
bad.
1v1.
No, but it's not a requirement,
I mean-
of course, but it's a good argument against the others.
let me choose the Style Rocks and beat them all.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna go
Okay.
that route.
But yeah, the PayPal payment coming through. Gus is taking this episode
Is it rigged?
Oh,
of
damn
the Pincer Mania.
thank you, thank you. This is the crowning achievement of my life. And,
I mean, fuck
Yeah.
off.
I can die happy.
But yeah,
I'm upset.
I thank, of course, all three of you for appearing right here. I hope it was just as fun for you as it was for me. And yeah, I got really nothing to add. If you, for the viewers, if you like what you saw, if you have suggestions on what we should talk or who should be on the next episode, even if yourself, just leave it in the comments, leave a like. Smash that like button, like never before.
Don't do it.
check out.
No.
Yeah, I just said it. Check out all these three gentlemen. All the links to Twitter and YouTube will of course be in the description. And yeah, anything else to say from you guys? No.
Thanks for having me on.
This was cool, but it's rigged.
Yeah.
No one else come on the show. It's rigged. Totally
It
rigged.
is Rick.
Yeah.
You pay him the most out of
I have to eat something, guys. I have to eat. But yeah, okay. That's all from me. I will see you next time. Ciao.